I figured we could do something really fun and lighthearted today. So we're going to be ranking some of the most expensive Hermes Birkin bags out there. Now I have done videos sharing my thoughts on some really highly exclusive and insanely popular Hermes bags, which if you have not seen, I will make sure to have linked in the info box for you. And today, this video is not going to be all encompassing. We will not have time to look at every single exceptional Hermes Birkin bag. So I just picked 10 bags to start with, and if you like the idea and the sound of this video, we could definitely do a part 2 and a part 3, but today we're going to be looking at some of the rarest, most exclusive, most sought after Birkin bags specifically. So if you'd like to hear my thoughts on and really any insight, including the pricing that I have for some of these bags, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. I do apologize if the lighting is all over the place, but I think it's about to rain, so the sun keeps disappearing and then reappearing from behind the clouds. So if it's a little bit crazy today when it comes to the lighting, I do apologize. Hopefully it will start raining soon and then it's no longer going to be an issue. But without further ado, let's go ahead and look at some of our tiers. I, of course, always use the same tier maker app. So if you have seen my previous ranking videos, you know the drill by now. But let me start screen record so you can see exactly what I see. So we have tiers from exquisite. These are some of the most beautiful, exceptional bags in my opinion. Well, not every single bag here is going to be, they're all going to be exceptionally made, but they're not all part of the blue box range from Hermes, which if you're not familiar with the blue box bags, I'll explain to you exactly what those are in a second. But exquisite, these are some of the most beautiful and most exceptionally made bags in my opinion. These are the ones that I definitely appreciate from afar. Underneath that we have acquired taste. These are bags that I do like the look of, but personally are not my cup of tea. Then we have meh. These are the bags that I do think are quite overhyped. And then the last tier is pass, which are the bags that I really don't think are worth the money and the hype. And with that, we are ready to look at our first bag here, which is almost 20 years old. These bags first launched in, I think, 2005, 2006. It was a really limited range of bags that was definitely reserved for the true Hermes connoisseur and Hermes's most loyal clients, and it was a range of metallic Birkin and Kelly bags, which, believe it or not, were actually inspired by a piece that was specially made for a window display at the Faubourg boutique, the Hermes mothership, and it was so beloved that they ended up turning it into an actual bag that people could buy. Well, not a lot of people, but some. Now, the most popular pieces in this range were, of course, the Birkin and the Kelly bags, but they also had things like Kelly pochettes, and I even think Kelly cuts in this metallic finish. These metallic bags came in 2 different colors, only in smaller sizes. So you could buy, I think they came in a Birkin 25 and a Birkin 30 or a Kelly 25. And I think it was only a Kelly 25, maybe a 28 as well. And then a pochette that you could pick up these bags in. And they either came in silver or in a metallic bronze. Not to be confused with the color door bronze, which was around a few years ago, which was much more comparable to the classic staple Hermes color gold. Instead, it just had a little bit richer, darker, rustier hue to it, but these bags had an actual metallic finish. Now, these bags have not been in production for about 20 years. However, we are getting a new take on these metallic bags. We did see a sneak peek of a rose gold mini Kelly a couple of years ago, and I have also been seeing more and more pieces with a metallic finish. I think they're doing a pair of Oran and also a pair of sandals in metallic leather. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a new take on these metallic bags sooner rather than later. But anyway, going back to these bags, even though they were extremely exclusive and really limited, they were not technically exceptional bags, which if you have no idea what Hermes exceptional bags are, I will make sure to link my unboxing of the one and only exceptional bag that I ever bought. Exceptional bags are basically a chance for an Hermes craftsman to run wild with their imagination. They are truly meant and made for the Hermes collector, the Hermes connoisseur, because there's a lot of attention to details. They usually use really unique materials, finishes, and techniques that you will really not find on any other Hermes bags. And they also come in a jewelry box inspired hard shell case. And even though these bags are at this point some of the most highly coveted bags, they were not technically an art bag, as some Hermes collectors call them, but regardless, I think they were beautiful bags. I don't think it's really my cup of tea, but they are definitely head-turning pieces, and these sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auctions, especially in smaller sizes. As I mentioned, they only really came in smaller sizes, but if you have one of these in a size 25 or a Kelly pochette, these are truly one in a million. Going from something that was discontinued almost 20 years ago to something that is actually quite a new introduction to the Hermes Birkin family, the mini Birkin in Sellier structure. As you probably know, Kelly bags were traditionally available in two different structures, in a return and in a Sellier structure. There is a difference in how these bags are produced, but long story short, return bags have the stitching on the inside, and when they are being made, they are actually stitched on the inside, and the last step of the production is for these bags to be turned inside out, and that's what gives these bags this really beautiful, slouchy, relaxed look, whereas Sellier bags feature saddle stitching on the outside, which makes them a lot more structured and a lot more just sort of proper and formal looking, in my opinion. Birkins traditionally were only available in a return structure, but Hermes a few years ago started playing around with Birkin bags in a Sellier structure, and the most recent addition to the Birkin Sellier family was the mini Birkin. So this is in Sellier structure, but it is in a size 20, which is the smallest itty bitty Birkin that you have ever seen, at least the smallest functioning Birkin bag. I have seen this bag a few times. It is honestly beautiful. It is a head-turning, eye-catching piece that at this point is only available in matte alligator. I do think that at one point they will also introduce this in regular leathers, but right now it's only available in a handful of shades in matte alligator. The one that we have here, I think, is in Vert Dough, which is a beautiful sort of aqua green. It's kind of like a seafoam green shade, and it is a stunning bag. It's also available in gold. I have seen this in Rouge Sellier. I think it might also be available in black. So there are a handful of shades. One thing to keep in mind is that these bags are not the most functional because they are in a Sellier structure, which means that they are quite sturdy and structured. And because they are so small, I think you wouldn't have the easiest time using these bags because the opening is going to be so tight that you will probably struggle to get in and out of this bag. And because it's made of matte alligator, it is extremely prone to scratches and marks, not to mention how small the handles are. I mean, you have to be incredibly petite to be able to grab this bag and hold onto it by the handles, because the handles are as short as the handles of basically a doll's bag, but it's definitely a beautiful head-turning piece. So if you love a small bag, this is definitely something that you want to put on your radar. Personally, it's not my cup of tea. Well, if I was offered this bag, would I get it? I'm not sure. If I had this bag in my collection, I would probably carry it as a pochette, as a clutch bag. I wouldn't actually hold onto it by the handles because I think it would just look really weird. I have larger hands and it would just look ridiculous. It's a bag that I really enjoy. You know, when it comes to exceptional bags, some of them can be a little bit too crazy and a little bit overboard. I love the fact that it's all about the beautiful leathers and Hermes's craftsmanship. So it's somewhere between exquisite and acquired taste. You know what, let me put it in exquisite and then we can always change it later on. But so far, I mean, we have only looked at two bags, but this is definitely the one that I prefer out of the two. Next up, we have another bag here crafted from matte alligator, which there are actually quite a few things that are special about this next bag, which is of course a Birkin 35 from the iconic So Black collection. If you're not familiar with the So Black collection, it was designed under Jean-Paul Gaultier's creative direction. I think in the 2010s. It was a really short-lived collection, not only because Hermes bags are known for being really rare, but also because rumor has it that Hermes had a really tough time perfecting the black hardware. So what made these bags special is that it wasn't only the bag itself that was in the color black, but it was also the box, the tissue paper, as well as the hardware, which made the bag completely monochrome, which is just basically my dream come true. You guys know how much I love the color black. I mean, as you can tell. So this was a really beautiful collection. It included several different bags, Kelly bags, Birkin bags in different sizes, in different leathers, but I picked the one in matte alligator here. So this was not only popular and not only special because it was monochrome and it featured this PVD plated So Black hardware, but also because it was a larger Birkin, a Birkin 35, but it was crafted from matte alligator, which is really quite rare. Matte alligator is usually reserved for smaller bags just because alligator tends to be smaller. So the fact that they chose matte alligator for these bags was really unique. And personally, alligator is my favorite exotic leather. I do have a video, a little guide to Hermes exotics explaining the difference between the different types of crocs and alligator. So if you want to become a little bit more familiar with the world of Hermes exotics, I will make sure to have that video linked up here for you. Personally, alligator is my favorite leather because I find it to be the most hardy, and I really like how each and every single scale is really pronounced. But you have to keep in mind that it's not the most even and the most sort of symmetrical. So if you love symmetry, alligator might not be the leather for you, but there are quite a few things that make this bag really special. Now, these bags are no longer in production. You can still find these on the Preloved market, not only in matte alligator, but they were also offered in black box leather, and I do think they offered very few smaller pieces in lisse alligator too, but I wanted to go with the matte alligator version, honestly, just for selfish reasons, because it is definitely the most exquisite Hermes bag that I have ever seen. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, going from something that is really quite understated and subtle, I mean as subtle as you can get, with a large alligator Hermes Birkin, but it is a lot more subtle than if this bag, let's say, had gold hardware. Going from that to the most eye-catching, head-turning, blingy over-the-top Birkin, which is a Birkin 35 in lisse porosus croc. If you want to know the difference between porosus croc and alligator, again, make sure that you check out my exotic guide. But long story short, porosus croc is the most expensive exotic skin that you can buy from Hermes because it has the most symmetric scales. But I personally do not like that almost each and every single scale has a tiny little dot, which is of course where the name comes from, but it's usually used for more precious Hermes bags. And while it does come in matte finish, you'll find it in lisse or a highly polished finish more often than not. And it's usually offered in larger bags, not exclusively, but usually they will reserve this leather for larger bags, just so you can see that beautiful symmetry, which is really what you're paying for. Now, these bags feature a solid 18 karat white gold hardware, and the hardware is encrusted with white diamonds. More often than not, you will find these bags with colorless diamonds. However, it's important to mention here that if you're looking for something even more rare, Hermes has also produced these bags with colored gems in very, very limited numbers. So if you're looking for something even more special and rare, you should look for one with, let's say, yellow diamonds, but they will usually feature colorless diamonds. And these bags were traditionally available in larger sizes, so in a Birkin 30, 35, then they introduced them in a Birkin 25. You can also find these in a Constance wallet, pieces that are made of, again, lisse porosus croc and feature a solid gold hardware that is encrusted with diamonds. And most recently, they also started introducing these bags in much smaller sizes. So in a mini Kelly that again is made of porosus croc and features a solid gold hardware. Now, these bags are definitely not my cup of tea. They're way too over the top for my liking. So even if I was a billionaire, this is not a bag that I would want to add to my collection. But I get the hype. I mean, if money is no object and you really want to have a bag that is dripping in diamonds, which, believe it or not, these are not the most expensive bags that Hermes has ever produced that features diamonds. It's definitely something that we can talk about in another video. But if you love a bag that's over the top, something that will hit you in the face with all the bling, this is definitely something that is still very much around. And as I mentioned, they not only produce this in Birkins, but you can also find Kelly's and Constance bags that are encrusted with diamonds. While this next bag isn't dripping in diamonds, it certainly gives the diamond encrusted Birkins a run for their money in terms of how loud and over the top they are. This is an exceptional bag from Hermes that launched in 2018, and this is actually the very first exceptional bag that I was ever offered. I did not buy this bag. I want to make that very clear. My first and only exceptional bag that I ever bought was the Birkin Rock. But this is the first exceptional bag I was ever asked about. It launched in 2018. It was available in Swift with this really over-the-top loud print that I think was designed by an architect. I'm not great with names, but I think he was called Nigel Peak. Do not quote me on this. I will try to look it up, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself up on the screen here. But it featured this really colorful, over-the-top architectural illustration, which was definitely not my cup of tea. I remember this bag back in the day was, I want to say maybe $15,000-$16,000, something along those lines, which for a small Birkin, especially in Swift leather, was crazy back then. It's, you know, it's definitely a collector's piece. If you love a really vibrant, really in-your-face bag, this is something that you would have enjoyed. Personally, for me, it was just migraine inducing, so it's of course something that I passed on, and yeah, I really do not regret my decision. If you're an Hermes lover, this next bag will require no introduction. This is of course the iconic Birkin 25 in the Himalaya colorway, which it's actually a common myth that Himalaya refers to the name of the bag. Himalaya is a finish. It refers to the dyeing process that gives this bag this beautiful contoured sort of color blocked finish, and Himalaya actually comes in two different colors. You can find white Himalaya bags, which is the one here, but there is also a gray Himalaya color, which I am personally not a big fan of. It's a lot more rare than white Himalaya, but I think it is for a reason, because it kind of looks dusty and dirty. But just so you know, there is also something called the gray Himalaya, but the white Himalaya bag that we have here is of course a Birkin 25. Himalaya colors or Himalaya finishes have at one point been available in every single iconic Hermes bag. So you can find Himalaya Lindy's, Himalaya, I've never seen a Himalaya Garden Party, but I have seen Himalaya Plume. You can order different shoes in the Himalaya finish, but of course the most popular bags are Birkins and Kellys in this Himalaya finish. They are exclusively available with palladium hardware. Sometimes you can also find these encrusted with diamonds, and if they're encrusted with diamonds, they will feature an 18 karat solid gold hardware similar to the red bag that we looked at earlier, but it will also have a cool toned hardware, which of course makes sense because that's what goes best with these bags. Now, these bags were obviously not made for everyday use because they are extremely delicate. They're actually made of Nilo croc, not of Perosus croc, surprisingly, because Perosus croc is technically the creme de la creme when it comes to exotic skins. But I think the reason they chose Nilo croc for this is, I think, just so you're not distracted by all the tiny little dots that Perosus croc is known for. So if you ever have a conversation about Himalaya bags, that's an interesting detail to mention. Now, as far as I understand, these are not actually the most highly coveted exclusive Hermes bags. You know how nosy I am, so anytime I go to Hermes, I love having a conversation with the advisors there, and I have recently been told that more and more VIP clients are asking for lizard Birkins over Himalaya Birkins, which I do think makes sense because Himalaya bags, as beautiful as they are definitely not as magical as they once were. These bags we've seen on the news, we have been talking about these for years and years and years. So if you are really trying to keep up with the Joneses and really add a really unique facet to your collection, these might not be quite as special as they used to be. But if you still love the look of it, of course you go for it. But you know, for some people, having the most unique bag in their collection is something that they take very seriously, in which case this is definitely not the most unique and most understated Hermes bag out there. In fact, in my opinion, it kind of looks tacky at this point. So for me, it is definitely going to be a matte bag. Obviously, it is still stunning. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but it's just not as special in my opinion as I used to think it is. If you truly love your exotics and you're looking for a bag that is genuinely one in a million, something that you will not see over and over again, this is a really special bag for you to look into. I'm sorry to report that it's no longer in production, but it's something that still pops up every now and again on the Preloved market. But do keep in mind that these bags were exclusively available in larger sizes, which we have the Grand Mariage back here next, or it's sometimes also referred to as the Trio Exotic, because on this bag, each and every single part is crafted from a different exotic skin. There were a handful of different shades that these bags were available in, but the two most popular were Grey Elephant, which is the one that we have here. It's the darker out of the two, and Tobacco was the other one, which is a lot lighter. It was almost like a cognac sort of camel color, but there was a slight difference in shades among the different leathers that it featured. So the body of these bags is made of matte alligator. The sangles and the handles are made of lizard, and then the gillies detail, which is basically this really beautiful sort of lacing around the edges, is actually made of ostrich. Now, if you love this gillies detail, which is inspired by men's dress shoes, you don't necessarily have to wait for the Grand Mariage bag to be available. Gillies bags are also available in regular leather, and they are also available on exotic bags, but on those bags, the whole bag will be made of the same leather, except the gillies detail, which is sometimes made of the same leather in a different finish, or it's made of, if it's on an exotic bag, it's sometimes made of just regular leather, but it definitely adds a really unique detail to the bag. But the Grand Mariage is the one where you have the gillies detail, and each and every single part of the bag is made of a different exotic skin. So it features 3 different types of exotics, which is definitely not for the faint of heart. It's definitely over the top, but I think it is done really tastefully. So for me, I think it is definitely an acquired taste. I also love the fact that the body of the bag is made of matte alligator, not croc. That is simply because I love alligator and I prefer it over any other exotic skins. And I think it is just a really beautiful, really interesting, and really special bag that if you love exotics, you might want to look into. Again, it's not currently in production, and you do have to like larger bags, but it's something that you can certainly find every now and again. I cannot take credit for this because it's not something that I did on purpose, but I do think we have a pretty good variety of bags here. We have some older, discontinued, exceptional bags that you can still find on the Preloved market or at auction houses, and then we have some newer takes on exceptional Hermes bags. The next one is of course the cargo Birkin, which we first saw pop up on the men's runway in the form of an HAC, and since then it has grown into its own entity. Now there is a cargo version of almost every single popular Hermes bag. We of course had the HAC, then we got the Picotin Pocket or the Picotin Cargo. Then I think the first Birkin that launched was in size 35, which was definitely quite the showstopper. It was a huge bag, and it also featured this removable cup holder on the side, which was kind of ridiculous, but at least it was removable. And then most recently, it was introduced in a smaller size in a Birkin 25 in a ton of different colors. The most popular and my favorite is the color Blue Marine, which is the darkest color, but it was also available in Citron, which is a yellow shade. We also had this bag in Nata, which was off-white. There were quite a few different shades, and I do think that if you love a smaller bag, but you're looking for a really fun, interesting take on it, this was a great one to look into. I am personally partial to bags that are made of canvas or tweed or any unique finish like that. So for me, it's definitely quite an exquisite bag. The next bag we have here is another Birkin 25, but this time it's in the iconic picnic finish, which means that it's handcrafted from wicker. It's all done in France by basket making artisans. So there's a lot of savoir-faire and a lot of know-how that goes into the production of these bags. Hermes had done different bags in wicker, so baskets and picnic bags, but the very first quota bag that they ever did in wicker was the Picnic Kelly, which was an iconic collectibles piece. A few years ago, they reintroduced it in a mini size, and then they also brought back the Kelly 35, but the mini Kellys in wicker were a lot more popular, which are still in production. You can still get them. They are still pieces that you can put in a wish for. But most recently, they introduced a Birkin 25 in wicker with Swift details, which came in a ton of different colors. So that one that we have here is in the color Rouge Sellier, but it was also available in Framboise, which is of course a raspberry pink. It was available in green in the color mint. It was available in yellow. I have seen it in chai, also in Bavaria. So there were a ton of different colors. This again is not the most practical bag. This is genuinely meant for the true Hermes collector. Obviously it might not be the most practical, but it's definitely quite the eye-catching piece. And I do think that it is just exquisitely made. If you are trying to build a collection of unique bags, this is definitely something that I would suggest adding onto your wish list. Whether you pick it up in a Kelly or a Birkin, that just really comes down to your personal preference. Do you like a bag that features top handles, or do you need a bag with a shoulder strap? I personally appreciate the look of the Birkin a lot more because I think it just goes with this whole idea of a picnic basket. And last but not least, we of course have a Birkin Faubourg here, which I felt we couldn't do a video without mentioning the Birkin Faubourg, just because this year's theme, Hermes's theme, is all about celebrating the Faubourg boutique, the Hermes mothership. Now the Faubourg bags were first introduced quite a few years ago. It initially came in two different colors, in a Faubourg during the day and the Faubourg at night, and they were of course inspired by the storefront of the Faubourg mothership, and they were genuinely like a piece of art. When I feel like when you hear the word art bags, you don't really know what they refer to, but as soon as you see these bags, it just all makes sense, because these were genuinely like a piece of art, like a little sculpture that you could carry around with you as a bag, because they were actual three-dimensional bags. Each and every single detail was so uniquely crafted that it didn't take long for Hermes collectors to go crazy for these bags. So a couple of years later, they reinterpreted them and they introduced it in a so black finish, and then in the Faubourg Neige version, which was not only the most expensive out of the bunch, but also the most unique, because the body of this bag was actually made of matte alligator, whereas other Faubourg bags only featured alligator on the handles and the flap. So this, I think the body of the bag is made of Baton matte alligator. The windows are made of chèvre in the color bleu brum, and then the flap and the handles are made of white Togo, Blanc Togo to be specific, which Blanc is such a rare color to find from Hermes. As you know, Hermes has a ton of different off-white and ivory shades, but it's very rare for them to use an actual pure white color, which is called Blanc, and that's what this bag features. So it's definitely a collector's dream come true. It is, I think it retails for somewhere around $48,000-$50,000, just because the body of the bag is also made of matte alligator, and it is really a beautiful bag. Obviously, we are getting a new take on the Faubourg bag for this current season, which is called Faubourg Unfat. I personally could not mention that bag with the other Faubourg bags on the same page, because to me, it's just not. They're not only in different leagues, but they're playing different sports, because the Faubourg Unfat is just so basic and simple compared to these genuine art pieces. So I wanted to pick the Neige here because I think it is the most unique out of all four, or at this point 5 Faubourg bags, and it's definitely an exquisite, beautiful bag. And I can't believe I almost forgot to mention, but they were in size 20. So these were the first time we saw a Birkin bag in size 20 and also in a Sellier structure. So these Faubourg bags were kind of the blueprint of some of the Sellier mini Birkins that we discussed at the beginning of this video. So if you love this idea, just know that there are some much more simplistic versions of these bags if you're only buying this bag because of the size and the structure. And my friends, it is now your turn to share your thoughts and your review with us in the comment section. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts and your insights on these bags. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a least favorite? Do you agree with my ranking, or would you rank these bags differently? Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this and you'd like to see more ranking videos like this, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching. And if there are any bags that you would like to see included in future ranking videos, please let me know in the comment section. But I will see you back here with a new video really, really soon.